and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're embarking on a special journey, one that takes us into the shadows of our shared past. We're going to listen for the echoes of the forgotten, exploring the stories of people and communities that history books often overlook. History, as we often learn it, is a grand narrative, a story of kings, queens, wars, and great inventions. But what about the stories that don't fit neatly into that narrative? What about the people whose contributions were silenced, whose struggles were ignored, and whose very existence was pushed to the margins? These are the marginalized histories, and they are just as crucial to understanding who we are today. Think of history as a massive, intricate tapestry. The main threads are bright and bold, easy to see. But if you look closer, you'll find countless other threads, each with its own unique color and texture, woven into the fabric. These are the stories of women who defied societal norms, indigenous communities who fought to preserve their culture against overwhelming odds, and countless unnamed individuals who fueled revolutions and built nations with their labor. Pulling on these threads doesn't unravel the tapestry. It makes the entire picture richer, more complex, and far more truthful. Let's take, for example, the story of the Hello Girls. During World War I, the U.S. Army desperately needed bilingual telephone operators to connect calls between American and French forces on the front lines. Over 200 women, fluent in both English and French, answered the call. They served in hazardous conditions, often right behind the trenches, ensuring vital communications never failed. They wore uniforms, swore an army oath, and were subject to military regulations. Yet, after the war, they were denied veteran status and benefits. For decades, their crucial service was officially unrecognized. It wasn't until the late 1970s, after a long and determined fight, that the few surviving Hello Girls were finally granted the veteran status they had earned 60 years earlier. Their story is a powerful reminder of how easily contributions can be dismissed and forgotten. Or, consider the history of places like Seneca Village. In the mid-19th century, before Central Park existed, Seneca Village was a thriving community in Manhattan, primarily populated by free African Americans. It was a place of opportunity and refuge, with its own churches, a school, and a significant number of Black landowners, a remarkable achievement at a time when slavery was still legal in parts of the country. But when the city decided to build Central Park, the residents of Seneca Village were displaced, their homes demolished, and their community erased. For over a century, the story of this vibrant settlement was almost completely lost, buried beneath the lawns and pathways of one of the world's most famous parks. It is only through recent archaeological and historical research that we've begun to piece together the lives of the people who called Seneca Village home. Why does uncovering these stories matter so much? Because history shapes our identity. When entire groups of people are left out of the story, it sends a dangerous message that their lives, their struggles, and their triumphs don't matter. It creates a distorted view of the past, one that can reinforce harmful stereotypes and perpetuate inequality in the present. By bringing marginalized histories into the light, we challenge that distortion. We validate the experiences of those who were silenced, and we gain a more complete and honest understanding of our collective journey. It's about recognizing that history isn't just a collection of dates and events, it's a chorus of human voices. Some have been amplified, while others have been muted. Our job, as curious and compassionate individuals, is to adjust the volume. We need to actively seek out the quiet voices, the whispers from the margins, because they often have the most profound things to say. They tell us about resilience, resistance, the enduring power of culture, and the universal human desire for dignity and recognition. Think about the incredible history of the Quilombos in Brazil. These were communities founded by escaped slaves deep in the country's interior. They were more than just hideouts. They were sophisticated societies that blended African traditions with elements from indigenous and European cultures. Palmares, the most famous Quilombo, thrived for nearly a century, resisting countless attempts by colonial forces to destroy it. It was a beacon of freedom and self-determination. The story of the Quilombos isn't just about escaping slavery. It's about building a new world based on principles of freedom and community. Their legacy continues to inspire movements for social justice in Brazil today. Exploring these histories also forces us to ask tough questions about how history is written and who gets to write it. For so long, the power to record and interpret the past was held by a very small, homogeneous group. This naturally led to a narrative that centered their own experiences and perspectives. The good news is that this is changing. Historians, archaeologists, and community scholars are now using new tools and asking new questions to uncover these hidden stories. They're looking at oral traditions, family records, folk art, and the very land itself to find clues about the past. This isn't about rewriting history to be politically correct. It's about writing a more correct history. It's about being more rigorous, more inclusive, and more honest. It's an act of restoration, of giving voice back to the voiceless, and returning to the tapestry the threads that were unjustly pulled out. It makes our understanding of humanity richer, deeper, and more empathetic. When we learn about the struggles of the Hello Girls, the aspirations of Seneca Village residents, or the resilience of the Quilambas, our world gets bigger. So, I encourage you to be a historical detective in your own life. Look into the history of your own town or city. Who were the original inhabitants of the land? What forgotten communities might have existed right where you live? What stories aren't being told in your local museum? The echoes of the forgotten are all around us, waiting to be heard. All we have to do is learn how to listen. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. I know it's a deep topic, but it's an incredibly important one. If you found this interesting or thought-provoking, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might appreciate it. And of course, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next exploration into the fascinating corners of our world. Let me know in the comments which forgotten history you'd like to learn more about. Until next time, stay curious.